Let's all take a deep breath. This is going to be a continuation of the bonus group coaching call we did 2 weeks ago, which is all about gaining more and more awareness around self-sabotage. Now, we didn't actually continue the conversation because that conversation was all about gaining more and more awareness. So as we gain more and more awareness, of course, things start to change because we provide enlightenment to it, right? It's one thing for an unconscious pattern to be sabotaging your happiness, fulfillment, success unconsciously, and you're not even aware of it. You know, we often do this when we follow beliefs that we just think are true. You know, we just think it's true that we are this person. We are, you know, we have this identity. We're just destined for this particular level of success. Doesn't necessarily make it true, but unless you provide awareness to it, then it remains unconscious. I'll briefly share my screen because I'll go over the 5 mental handbrakes that we went on. I call them the 5 mental handbrakes because it's these topics, these patterns can be like trying to accelerate in a car while you also have the handbrake on, you know, and that's kind of sometimes what our life feels like. So I'll share my screen here just to remind you all, if you haven't seen that, the last group coaching call we did, then it's on the podcast, on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to find it. It's easy done. But these are the 5 mental handbrakes that we had. So 5 mental handbrakes that you guys will be aware of now, that we went over. 1, the stories you're telling yourself. 2, your self-identity. 3, trying to move forward, but having the need to stay safe, comfortable, and what's familiar. Trying to move forward, but also wanting to not lose status, what I will call status or significance or love or acceptance, whatever you want to call it. And then your success set point. That is this internal success thermostat of where you feel comfortable. Some people feel uncomfortable once they lower up, go below a particular level of success, and also above. As soon as you reach a level of success that's at your higher end, you start feeling uncomfortable and will sabotage your success to bring you back down to what's comfortable for your current success set point. Make sense? So we went over these last time. We had some aha moments and some insights and some awareness. What I want to do now is help expand that to starting to create an actual shift. Because it's true, it's not just about mental patterns that lead to self-sabotage, but there's also the emotional and the physical, right? There's also the emotional components to all of this, and also what reflects our decisions and actions as we move forward, correct? So one thing we'll do now, I want everyone to breathe deep. Once again, I want you to get very present with how you're feeling, very present with what's going through your mind, through your body at this present moment. The reason being is because I want you to highlight what's one pattern you're holding yourself back with. What's one sabotaging pattern that you have? It could be a story you're telling yourself. It could be an identity that you know you're holding on to. It could be your unwillingness to get outside your comfort zone, right? And to overcome this over need of safety. It could be the pattern of wanting to avoid getting rejected, being judged, all these things where you lose status, where you lose credibility, acceptance, love, and or where you may find yourself in a pattern where your success set point isn't serving you. What one resonates most with you? What resonates most with you? Show of hands. Do we all have something that our guidance is, highlighting, that we think we can? Show of hands. Do we all have something that we think we can highlight here? Okay, beautiful. That's what we want. I want that to be top of mind right now, because we're going to some deep work. And while I do so, you guys can feel free to unmute, raise your hand, have a chat about this. If you have any insights as to what's helped you in the past, happy for you to share your wisdom, share your expertise as well. But before we get into that, does anyone want to share a pattern that they have noticed within themselves? Because once we get this out in the open, once we have a discussion, once you share, the relationship between that thing starts to change, right? I know for me, I can get complacent. I think I shared this last time, but I can get complacent with my level of, my success set point, because I live a great life, when business is going well, and clients are enjoying their transformations, serving circles going well, ideas are flowing, I tend to get pretty stagnant. I tend to think, oh, I'm pretty comfortable now, and I don't necessarily grow in those moments as I should or could. And then I find myself drifting back, and I'm like, what happened? Anyone else found themselves in that point where you just you get a little bit complacent, you get a little bit in a pattern of just things are great, I can just cruise from now on, my life is super now, simple, super cruisy, and all of a sudden run into some more challenges. So that's one main pattern of mine. What's yours? David, you got your virtual hand raised. Did you want to highlight something that you've noticed within yourself?
Yeah, my main pattern is to disengage. And it was highlighted to me a year or so ago when I did a course on the Enneagram, which is an interesting model for psychological profiling. And I'm in that Enneagram type 9, and we tend to disengage, to avoid issues in life. And I know when difficult situations come up for me, that's my default response. And it can keep me stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not sure how that fits into the stories, but this will be interesting today.
Well, here's what I will ask. When you disengage, my question is, what are you avoiding? Because what does your mind avoid? What does your mind think you'll face by engaging? You're not the only one who disengages here. I'm pretty sure everyone at some level, like I just mentioned, we face some patterns where we don't want to move forward, right? Our mind doesn't want to move forward, and my thing is, okay, well, what are we avoiding by moving forward? So have a thought there, whether it is you want to avoid an emotion. Is there an emotion that your mind thinks you'll face on the other side of engaging, or whether you may risk losing safety, losing significance, these sort of things, losing status? Anything resonate with you there?
Yeah, definitely. The situations I try to avoid when I disengage are typically around conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotion behind that, why don't I want to get engage in conflict or, deal with the issue, is around rejection.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Anyone else resonate? Trying to risk rejection? Yeah. Because hey, when you feel rejected, that's a real core emotion that is linked to a loss of significance, status, love, right? Acceptance. it really is, it hits this core wound within us. It says, hey, if I'm not worthy, then I'm not worthy of love. One easy way that can come up is when someone, quote unquote, rejects us. So therefore we don't put ourselves out there. We don't share an offer, don't put ourselves out there and sell what we have. So there's plenty of things there. Thanks, David. All right, quickly, Jessica, what do you have for us? What pattern do you recognize?
Okay, I recognize that I am interested in so many things, just all these shiny things, and so I get diverted.
Mm.
And I don't always focus. And so I think that's a big sabotage point.
Okay.
So I lose my focus.
Yeah, totally. Anyone
So
else?
many opportunities.
Like me, when I find myself, my mind scattered, it's like unconsciously my brain clicks on my internet browser, pulls up YouTube, and I start watching golf videos. That's just what happens. It's like unconsciously, that's what happens. And
Right.
it's just when my mind's not focused, that's what happens. And it's good to be aware of that, right? It's really good to be aware of that. Same again, when you're going down this pattern of shiny object syndrome, like what is that either providing you or what are you avoiding by sticking to one task? Like what's the emotion there? What's what you may be avoiding there?
Probably some of it is the fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be involved in everything and everybody, and yeah. And what it does is it doesn't leave me time to do my meditation and to be quiet and still.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
what I'm giving up. Well, because I realize I'm a real junkie for, new classes to take and new experiences and
Beautiful. Good awareness. Well done. All right, Rosemary, what do you notice?
Wow, just listening to everybody. Can you hear me okay? Just want to
Yep,
make sure my
you're good.
mic's close enough. Okay. So what David was saying about escaping and not wanting to, um, be involved with others, just to get away from what the perceived problem is. And the same with Jessica, wanting to do everything. So over the years, what I found for me was I was battling with self-worth. And I didn't want to be in confrontation with anybody because I didn't think I was good enough, or that just made me feel worse. And the same thing with Jessica with wanting to get involved with everything. It's also an escape pattern because if I do this, if I do that, then I don't have to deal with this over here. And what I found with actually in the last 2 years is if I can recognize what it is I'm doing and change my focus, instead of focusing on what my self-sabotage is, because the more you focus on it, the more you're going to do it. Recognize it and have a mechanism where you can change that focus. For me, I like to look for sparkles, so that just changes my, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough to, hey, there's something nice out there that I can observe and be thankful for. The other thing that I just found recently, and what you were saying, with your mind going all over the place and being distracted so easily. I found something literally just this week, and it was Pomodoro planners, and it has a timer, and it says to work in increments of 25 minutes. And I found, because I had some phone calls, I needed to make a bunch of phone calls. As I was starting to get 5 phone calls, 6 phone calls, my mind was already starting to go, oh, well, maybe I should just go, I don't know, take the meat out of the freezer. No, stay focused. I looked at the timer. I've only got 7 more minutes to go. Hang in there and keep going to what you were focused on. That was a big change for me. That was so amazing. So, but focusing on what it is going to bring you more, but changing your focus can help you recognize and overcome it.
Awesome. Thanks for the insight. Sophie, what do you have for us?
I connected with disengaging. That's been one I've been working on a lot recently. And the only thing I've kind of noticed on it is like I can reflect on like, wow, I've just disengaged or lost focus. And really my focus for that one has been on returning quickly or with returning within a certain time frame, such as 5 to 10 minutes, because I am bad at taking breaks. So I try to not punish myself for getting disengaged or losing focus, because it might just be my brain saying, you need a break. You've been working for a long time. And the primary one that I'm trying to focus on today is this story I have that I'm not good with time. I'm kind of number blind. I've experienced like I part of my background's in like editing, and I noticed that numbers are things I have to be especially attentive to. Math equations that have to do with how much time has passed is something I've struggled with. Ironically, a lot of my jobs have been about coordinating times with people. And I just always have to be especially attentive with it, but I struggle with like actually doing that time management of like having a realistic perception of how long something is going to take. And then also I can just have a tendency of like, well, I'm going to be there so early that like I'll do another project and then I'm like showing up right on time or a couple minutes late. And so I'm just trying to figure out kind of, I'm trying to change that story as well, because I don't know that it's as bad as it used to be. It most certainly isn't, but I'm still trying to continue to move that clock forward. So on time is 10 minutes early and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Good awareness. Kudos.
Thanks.
Kazia, what do you have for us?
I have found that the biggest thing that is holding people back is to stay in their mind and to be in this mentally figuring things out mode. And I have found that it is so rewarding to shift that into tracking somatically what's coming up in the body and to work with that approach.
Definitely. Has anyone here also noticed that they get into a pattern, an overdeveloped pattern of always trying to figure something out? Right? You're always in try and figuring out mode. Yeah. That is probably as a business owner and entrepreneur, always trying to solve problems. Your mind can go there and stay there. Right? Awesome what you bring up, Cardia. So hopefully this allows you to shift your relationship to what's coming up for you. And this one main pattern you notice is sabotaging your happiness, fulfillment, success. Anyone who's a coach knows, anyone who's in personal development knows that to do anything, to create a shift in anything, the first thing you need is a strong reason to do so. Correct? What's your reason to do so? What's that strong why? It's kind of overused now, and overdeveloped is Simon Sinek and, that kind of his work. But it's so true. We can't overlook the fact that if our mind doesn't have a strong enough reason to create the shift, we will never create the shift, right? Your reason why needs to be stronger than the thing you're avoiding in order for you to create the shift. There needs to be some sort of internal leverage. So we've been focusing a lot on having awareness, stage 1. Stage 2 is having the internal leverage to create the change. Make sense? So what is that change for you? What is that reason why for you? What's important here? What's most important in your life? The best way I know that I go through myself when I'm thinking about my reasons why and developing internal leverage for creating a shift is thinking, what's my life going to be like if I don't create the shift? And also, what's the ripple effect if I do create this shift? So just have in your mind, let's just breathe deep right now. Let's go in and just imagine, if you can close your eyes, you can. I want you to just imagine for a moment what your life will be like if this shift doesn't happen. Think about the areas of life that matter most to you, whether it's your relationships, your finances, your business, your health, your lifestyle. Just really think about it and imagine, envision what your life will be like if this doesn't change. What's at stake here? If nothing changes, if you just stay the same, what happens? What happens to those areas of life that matter most to you? Just breathe deep. Provide this awareness for yourself. What will your life be like in 30 days? In 6 months? 3 years? 5 years? 10 years? What if this pattern amplifies? All right, come back to me. To provide some awareness there. I want you to continue to breathe deep, shake your body out a little bit. Nice work, David. So now I want you to imagine what happens if you do create a shift. So breathe deep, close your eyes. Think about the areas of life that matter most to you. And think, what's really possible if you do create a shift here? If you remove this pattern of self-sabotage, what happens? What happens to your health, your lifestyle, your business, your finances, your relationships? What actually happens here? What if you never had this pattern? Just breathe deep. Notice what you'd feel day to day. What internal resources would you welcome in? Would you have more passion, more curiosity, more patience, more determination, more courage, more love? Think about the example you can be for others. Think about the change other people can make just by you being the example. What happens to the acceleration of your finances or your health or your lifestyle? What's really possible here in 3 months, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? What's really possible? Who do you get to become? What levels of growth possible? What do you get to contribute? Just breathe that in. Okay, come back to me. How is that exercise? Simple. We do it all the time, and it's super necessary. Simple visualization. Now, question, who found visualizing the future without the pattern difficult? Anyone? Anyone find that difficult? David, you found that difficult? Okay, David, what was difficult about it?
It was actually, now I'm going back a few weeks because I've been doing this process over the last few weeks. And when you did the exercise today, it was actually super easy because I've done it before. But I'll answer the question how it was for me a few weeks ago. I found it really hard to answer the questions that you were asking. How am I going to feel? You know, what will it look like for me? What contribution will I make? It wasn't clear. And I had to make some internal shifts, particularly around emotions. And once I'd done that, I found the answers to those questions were coming a lot easier.
Totally.
So and I know with my work with clients and in my coaching business that it's sometimes very difficult for them to answer that question of what the vision is. Because there's what I call roadblocks in the way. And I think those are the stories that you touched on earlier.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But it's possible. I think that's, and, you know, I think it is a case of repeating the process. You chip away at it. You know, if the roadblock is a pile of rubble, you've actually got to shovel the rubble, and it takes quite a lot of shoveling to get rid of it.
Totally.
So I'll stop there.
Good man. Thanks for that. I think this exercise is really important because sometimes it can highlight on the other side of this pattern what you're scared to face, what your mind's scared to face. Hey, if you do achieve huge financial success, huge success in your business, you know, you find the love of your life, what does your mind fear on the other side? There must be something there. If there's some sabotaging patterns, you're sabotaging it for a reason, right? Either something in this present moment that you're holding on to, like significance or safety, and or something on the other side of this level of success that your mind's avoiding. It may be an emotion. It may be a fear of what might happen. Therefore, you sabotage yourself, right? We all sabotage ourselves because there's something we're either clinging onto now or scared of on the other side. Make sense? If you're going to cross a bridge and your mind's stopping you from crossing a bridge, is there something on this side of the bridge that you're clinging onto? Or is it something on the other side that your mind fears most? That's what we need to get very, very clear on. From my work with clients, I know that often there's an emotion on the other side. Yes, you can cling to safety, significance, you know, or love, or what's familiar and stuff on the current side of the bridge. But that's because there's an emotion on the other side of the bridge that you don't want to face, right? There's an emotion on the other side, whether it could be shame, it could be embarrassment, it could be humiliation, right? We talked about rejection before. Although rejection itself isn't an emotion, many people explain it as an emotion. But what's the emotion underneath being quote unquote rejected or quote unquote failing? What's there? Do we all know what I'm hinting towards? Can we see something within ourselves? That's what needs to be faced. If you have the internal leverage and the big reason why, then you will know your why needs to be bigger than the fear of this emotion. As soon as that's the case, you'll start walking across that bridge and you'll face the emotion, right? If it's not, you'll continue the sabotaging pattern. So I have still working through these stories as I elevate my finances, because my finances over the years, I'm like, oh, if I welcome a whole bunch of money, I don't know what to do with it. But now I know what to do with it because I've been learning. So I don't have that excuse anymore. But I'm like, what's the emotion that's there? I'm like, what if I welcome all this financial success? Maybe there's now more pressure. Maybe there's now more expectation. Maybe I might face some humiliation of making it, then failing, making it, then losing it. Right? There may be now this pressure, because if I lose it, all of a sudden there's shame involved. But hey, what's better than facing shame? Don't get in the scenario where you can risk shame anymore, right? Just stay comfortable and safe, stay small. So what is it for you? On the other side of this pattern, what is the emotion that you may be avoiding? Your mind's like, I don't want to go there, so I might as well just stay here. Do we all know what that is? Show of hands. Who knows? All right, great. This is the deep work of going in and feeling that. This is what I call the feel to heal process. And what it involves, as many of you have done the work with me in the past, is instead of avoiding the emotion, in silence, in meditation, in your own sanctuary, wherever that is to welcome that emotion. All right, breathe with it, feel it, really have this relationship with that emotion where you're not avoiding it. Let's actually breathe for a couple of minutes, and we'll do that just for a minute, because I want to give you the tangible experience of what it's like. We'll only do this for a few minutes. We don't have time to do it for an hour like I do every morning. But if you want to have that experience to shift the relationship, then we'll talk about the next component towards this, and then I'll open the floor with whoever's got some tips, insights, something they can add to this conversation, okay? So let's all breathe deep. I want you to notice the emotion that your mind's avoiding. If you want to close your eyes, you can. I just want you to breathe deep. And instead of avoiding, instead of reacting, instead of judging the emotion that your mind's trying to avoid, just for a moment, I just want you to welcome it in your body. Notice what it feels like physically to feel this emotion. What does it feel like in your body? And I want you to just observe the physical sensations. So as you breathe deep, you might want to welcome in the emotion of embarrassment or shame or sadness or guilt. Whatever's there. There may be a lot of uncertainty, fear. I want you to notice what that feels like in your body. Just breathe deep. Just for a moment, I just want you to allow it to be there. Just the more you breathe deep, the more you just allow whatever your body's guiding you to feel. Just notice how that expresses itself in your body. Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your stomach, solar plexus, chest, throat, legs, head, a bit all over? And what does it feel like? Is there an emptiness or a heaviness? Is it moving, pulsating? Does it feel hot or jagged, or what does it feel like? And while you breathe deep, just allow that feeling to be there. Just observe it. Knowing that as you observe it, you're only observing it because who and what you are is not this feeling. Who and what you are is not this sensation. But in fact, this sensation is coming up to the surface so it can be seen, so it can be released. It's coming up so it can come out. When you surrender to it, you just allow it to do so. As you observe it, you heighten your consciousness to the version of you who's not stuck in this story. There's a version of you who's not stuck in the pattern. You're now observing the pattern. It's possible from this place to send love to the side of you who feels this way. You may send love and compassion to the side of you who's scared, or who's embarrassed, or who feels shame. And just notice what you feel in your body now. Some of the patterns may be coming up that you've needed to avoid for decades. But it's now coming to the surface because it's ready to heal. It's ready to be seen. You're now ready to evolve beyond this. Welcome that in your heart. And just send love and compassion to all sides of you. Send love to the sides who are scared to cross the bridge. All right, feel free to come back to me. How's that? Pretty good? Pretty powerful? What's your life going to be like if you do this for an hour or two a day? Because that's what we're all going to do moving forward. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to be like me, but what would your life be like if you had this intention? Even just the intention. If you can't necessarily, if you're not called to do extended meditations every day, that's cool. But no doubt all of you feel called to do some form of mindfulness or meditation or a practice or a routine every day, right? What if this was part of it? What if your intent throughout the day was to, hey, I'm just going to let the emotions come up. My mind's going to fear a bunch of different things. Let's go in and face them. Let's go in and feel them ahead of time. Because you realize it's not about crossing the bridge and fearing something outside yourself. It's always about fearing something inside yourself, of what you will feel, what patterns you'll need to face within yourself, correct? Do that ahead of time with consciousness and with compassion, with unconditional love. What you'll find is you'll be able to cross many, many bridges. It will still be uncomfortable, but you're willing to do it because your why is strong enough and you're willing to face internally what's going on. Here's the next question. Once you're okay feeling what you need to feel, once you're okay facing what you need to face, what does crossing that bridge look like? What's your version of crossing the bridge? What's your version of overcoming this pattern that your mind's been holding on to? What's that leap for you? If you didn't have the pattern, what would you do? Would you organize 20 sales calls? Would you start your community Facebook ads, organizing a meeting, organizing a program, right? Would you reach out to your family members and tell them that you love them? What would you do? What's your leap? What's the thing that what's the action your mind's trying to avoid by holding on to this self-sabotaging pattern? What is that for you? That needs to be clear, needs to be known. So then you can do the inner work and you know what action you need to take. Now, here's what I know. To take the action, you're not going to do it from the same mindset, the same mentality, the same mental and emotional state as the version of you who's stuck in the pattern, correct? If you hold on to the same patterns of your thoughts, your language, your physiology, you'll always just continue in the same cycle, right? So whatever that looks like for you, a way to really uncover this is to ask yourself, what internal resource do you think you need to cross the bridge? Is it determination? Is it courage? Is it creativity? Is it a level of focus, a level of love, right? Passion? What internal resource is needed? Let's type that in the chat. I haven't been following the chat, so sorry if people have questions, but let's type something in the chat. Let's type an emotion, which is an internal resource. What emotion, internal resource do you need to cross the bridge? Right? It could be love, determination, courage, passion, creativity, anything else. What do you think you need? What's required right now? We've got love, courage, confidence, cool, determination, love for myself, beautiful. More breath. Courage, self-love, awesome. Meaningful connection, great. So, no doubt you know what it's like to feel this. This is a mental and emotional state, right? Mental and emotional state. The likes of Tony Robbins, love him or hate him, always understands that whenever you take action from a place of resourcefulness, magic happens. When you feel that state of confidence, courage, love, determination, take some action. It's going to commit you to crossing the bridge. So there's 3 factors that determine which mental and emotional state you're feeling. So whether you're embodying love or embodying fear, whether you're embodying uncertainty or embodying courage and confidence. There's 3 factors. 1 is your focus. What do you focus on? Where's your attention? 2, your internal language and meaning. So what are the sentences flowing through your mind? And what are you making things mean? What stories are you telling yourself? Are they empowering or disempowering? And 3 is the one that most people miss, but it's the one that's the most powerful, and that is your body. That's your physiology of how you move and use your body. This includes your posture, your gestures, includes your voice, includes your breathing, right? Your facial expressions, everything to do with how you move and use your body. So, interesting story. When I was living in Melbourne, of course, a lot more cold than where I'm living now, at top of Queensland on Magnetic Island. But I would take cold showers every morning, and I was living in a house owned by my dad's side of the family. So cold, like 0 insulation. Temperature outside is the temperature inside. So some mornings, if it's 0 degrees, It's 0 in the house. But I had the challenge every morning of having a cold shower, like just not even touching the hot tap, just going cold, just having my cold shower. I see I've got your approval, Jessica. Thank you. She's shaking her head at me. But every morning I would wake up, I'd get into the shower, and I could clearly see my breath. That's how cold it is. And not one morning I wanted to do it. Not one. There wasn't one morning where I wanted to do it, but I wanted to test myself, and I wanted to overcome some of the patterns that were holding me back. And I know some of them is to do with my mindset and to do with my mentality. There is no chance I would do that if I would walk in there and just like, a bit slumped shoulders and, shallow breath and very, a voice very monotone and just low energy. There's zero chance I was going to flick the tap. Zero chance. I realized that. But if I had some music going, and I was jumping up and down and like bang myself on the chest as hard as I can, I would go and do it. I'm like, I know this is going to suck for about 5 seconds and then it'll be okay. But it was the leading up to it that was the most challenging part. It was thinking about it that was the most challenging part, not actually doing it. So I realized if I got myself into a mental and emotional state of confidence, of certainty, of determination, I could easily do it. So what can you do in business? What can you do in your lifestyle, your relationship, your health? By shifting your mental and emotional state strategically. I have this little guy here, little Superman. And I put this around the apartment here, around my office here, or the apartment, whatever. That's a reminder to me to shift my mental emotional state, to practice. So for example, courage or determination. As soon as I see this little thing on random spots where I've placed it, it's a trigger or reminder to me to breathe deep, stand tall, to feel the confidence and certainty in my body, to shift my focus, shift my internal stories, right? Feel present in the moment. And I can shift that instantly. Whether you shake it out, you bang yourself on your chest, jump up and down, you breathe deep, you feel the ground on your feet, whatever it is, and you practice that state, right? No doubt you felt different when we sat and was just breathing, because you shifted your physiology, you shifted how you move and use your body with just your breath, right? It's how simple it can be. So my ask of you, my challenge for you, you now have a mental and emotional state or internal resource that you would like to embody more often, that you know is going to help you get across the bridge. So put a trigger in your life. Put a physical trigger in your office, on your home, wherever it is, somewhere that you're going to come across it often. It's going to trigger you so that you can shift your focus towards something and shift your internal stories or meaning and shift physically how you're moving and using your body and voice, so you can embody that more often and you practice it and it becomes a muscle. Do you think you can do that? Even just for the next 7 days. Challenge for the next 7 days. I often call this the door frame game. I get my clients to choose a door frame, put a trigger on that door frame that they go under throughout the day. And every time they walk under it and they're triggered by it, they walk through that door embodying a different mental and emotional state to practice. All of a sudden, they find more and more creativity, more and more resourcefulness, more and more love, more and more passion, because it's being practiced. Rosemary, you got your hand raised.
So I do that now when I'm talking about the sparkles, because I have my Swarovski crystals in my living room. So I love things that sparkle. So I take it from the inside with my Swarovski crystals to the outside. Mm-hmm. The sun shining, the sparkling on the water. Those are things that trigger me to change that focus, that mindset, and become stronger every day. So for
Totally.
me, it's sparkles.
There you go. If anyone else wants to sparkle, go for it. For a couple minutes here, because I know we've got the collaboration call starting soon, but does anyone have anything they want to add? Any questions, any tips, anything that anyone feels called to add in this conversation? Feel free to raise your hand. Are we good? Was this helpful? Paul, what do you have to add here?
Yeah, thanks, Tyson. Absolutely awesome. Great exercise. Great visualization. Great. One of the keywords you said, about us doing it daily changes our patterns by committing to ourselves and doing it daily. Love it. And Joe Rogan said, he does the ice baths and the cold showers, and he said, being able to give the mental strength to be able to do that and face that made all the other challenges in life easier. So, I think that's wonderful. And in what you're doing, suggesting everything here, what you do is a great living example.
Thank you. Appreciate it. David, what do you have to add here?
I just wanted to share something that really helped me. Somebody suggested I watch the Disney movie Inside Out. It's been around for a while. Very briefly, it deals with the emotions. Little cartoon animated story about a little girl who it goes through a change in her life. And without taking too much away, all the different emotions that we have are important to us. They can actually help us. That's the moral of the story. But we pick up that we shouldn't, or, some emotions are bad and we shouldn't have those. Anger is a really good example. And there's another thing that's just come up, which in my consciousness is a book by a guy called Richard Schwartz, which is No Bad Parts. Now, I haven't read it. I want to grab it and read it. But it is very much in the same context. Though we have all these different aspects to ourselves. And what's come up in this session is being aware first, not blocking, not disengaging. And then the second thing, which you said, Tyson, was accepting. So that's my key takeaway today. Thanks very much.
Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. Sophie, I see you got your hand raised, and I see you got the question there in the chat. Is that what you wanted to mention here?
Yeah, I was curious about that question. I have something to mention off of what David said, but what's the answer to the question?
Yeah,
you mentioned physiology is the third piece. What were the first two pieces?
So your focus and internal language. When I run my clients through this, I have the acronym I use is AIM. So before you fire, you have to aim, correct? So before you do anything, run through the acronym of AIM, AIM, for attention, internal language, and movement. So attention, where your attention is, internal language, the senses that are flowing through your mind, and movement, how you move and use your body. That's an easier way for people to remind themselves of what they need to, the three factors that determine your emotional state.
I like that. Yeah, I liked what Katya said before about somatics, and thinking about how somatics connect with these other pieces has been really interesting for me these past couple months. Mm-hmm. Off of what David was saying about inside out and kind of parts work, that's something I've been playing around a bit, and I liked how today connected with that a bit for me. I think the interesting thing for me as I've been playing around with parts is when I do meditation or other things where I'm having a conversation with a part or trying to figure out even what part is at play, it's often not the part that I'm anticipating that comes up, or the part has a different feeling or reason for acting out, or yeah, it's a different sort of conversation by the time it's almost like a monster that you don't know really what it looks like, the monster under the bed, but then once you look under there, you have like, oh, it's a sock. Like you actually have something tangible to be having a conversation with, which is this other feeling. But actually naming what that feeling is comes with all these other associations with like how we think about that feeling. And then actually following the conversation out is just very interesting. It usually doesn't go where I anticipate.
Never, nor would it. We have to wrap up here, everyone, because we've got the collaboration call starting in a minute. I'll put the link here in the chat for you, so you know. I'm going to act on that call. I'm actually going to start, for those who are interested, pairing people for support and accountability. So if you do want to cross this bridge and have this leap, that's a small little segment of the collaboration call. I'm going to start pairing people up, so in the next 30 days, we can actually start achieving some results with real support and accountability. So if you want to jump on there, we're starting in a minute. But thanks for being here. I'll see you guys in the serving circle and on the collaboration call if you can make it. Thanks for being here. Feel free to keep your notes and execute on this, okay? Thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you soon.